are back on gaming, and you know what? I didn't want to talk about that much, and some of you have said, thank you for not talking about a lot of political stuff. But after what happened last night, and I have to say this, I have to talk just a little bit. I'm not going to overrun you with it. Just a little bit, due to the fact that I'm kind of tired from laughing at people overnight, and then this morning seeing all the salt and laughing at them some more. So I do want to address this just a little bit. I will say I am quite disappointed in how people have acted. And not because of who you voted for, okay? The only people I get mad at who voted for are the people who tried to make it as a joke. For those who don't know, over 15,000 people voted for Harambe for president. People voted for Hennessy Liquor. People voted for D's Nuts. Like, stuff like that, that's disappointing. But these same people who thought that it was a joke are now upset that Donald Trump has, is our new president. Now, I put it like this. It almost tells me that a lot of these people have never been through any hardship. The last time I seen this type of salt was when George Bush was reelected, okay? But I say salt due to the fact that what we've seen from a number of people, as you know, like the usual suspects, the SJWs that we see who always bag on gaming, we have seen them talk about being at the therapist all fucking night because of this. We've seen people talk about killing themselves over this. Apparently, the way people, look, if you go on Twitter and you see the way people are reacting, the country has exploded already. Clearly, this video is a figment of your imagination. I don't exist. I don't at all. That's how people are acting, overreacting. We've seen people now are rioting. We've seen people chanting and not my president and all this other bullshit. Look, I put it like this. I don't feel bad for these people. Why? Because if you want real change, all right, you have to start locally. I said this in the sports video too. You have to start locally. Hey, if you're not going to vote out the corruption within your judges and stuff, then you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. Not to mention you're not doing anything to help your communities anyway. So for these people to sit and complain and cry, it's actually what the problem with them is they wanted whoever they voted for to win. And now, because they were supposed to be adult about it, and now that they've lost, they're going to act like fucking children. Spoiled fucking children. Spilled milk. Oh, I didn't win, so therefore, this person is horrible, is not my president, and the world is going to shit. That's what we're seeing now. You've got to be kidding me. It's absolutely ridiculous that these people didn't just say, okay, this is something that I'm not comfortable with. It's time to knuckle up and it's time to change things, and make sure that my family, my friends, and people I know are okay. But no, you spent all night at the fucking therapist. Okay, anyways, speaking of people who need therapy, all right, Pokemon Go. Let's talk about it, yeah. You see, people need therapy? Yeah, we'll talk about that, all right? I say that due to the fact that some of these people are they're just getting nuts now. We've seen a lot of reports, of how people, just not too long ago, was it in Japan, a man who was driving his truck was playing Pokemon Go, and he hit a 9-year-old kid, killed him. Yeah, because he was too busy playing, Pokemon Go. Put the damn phone down. Put it down. Seriously. When you're driving. It's absolutely ridiculous. But in Pokemon Go news, Pokemon Go Nearby Tracker expands to a few new cities. Now, of course, they're talking about San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle. Now, for what we've seen in the mock-up of this new tracker, it actually doesn't look that bad. No, it doesn't at all. All right, for what I've seen, I would say that this looks like it's going to actually work. You see the Pokemon, and then they give you a picture, like in the background, exactly where the where the Pokemon is in the area. You actually can see like whether it's a landmark or something it's near, so you know where to go. I feel as though that's the best way to go about things. If this is what they're really working on, this could work if they give it the right tender loving care. You know what I mean? Let's move on, shall we? Because I do want to move on to Nintendo. As we know, with Nintendo, we've heard not too long ago that they were getting ready to discontinue Wii U units, and that was the rumor. And then Nintendo came out and said, no, this is false, we're not going to get rid of the Wii U. Mind you, a couple months ago, we had heard that Nintendo was going to keep supporting the Wii U. But as we've seen, we haven't really seen much for the Wii U as of late, have we? We really haven't. So we will see what happens with that. But if you are not sold on that because of the Nintendo Switch going on, and you are not happy of waiting for the Nintendo Switch, as we know, which will be next year, Raspberry Pi Hack takes the Wii U Gamepad one step closer to Nintendo Switch. That's right, it's a hack where you can put on pretty much, you can Android out and put on all these emulators on your Wii U Gamepad. Now, for what we're seeing, the battery only lasts about 3 hours on the Wii U Gamepad, so I would say if you're going to do it, I would say keep it plugged in. However, it does look interesting, and like I said, it's almost the same thing as you've seen already with other emulators when it comes to on PC or whatever that you can play old school games on. So, but still, to go through the extraordinary measures of what it took to hack this is still a feat of its own, and it deserves credit. All right? Now, I do want to move on to the fighting game community. That's right, because we do have some news. That's right, positive news, negative news, whatever you want to call it, all right? Like I said, no matter what I say today, I think negatively, it's not going to override what we've seen overnight. I don't think anything can at this point. I don't care how salty somebody gets. You're going to go back and you're going to look at the salt of this election, at the end of this election, and you're going to say, yeah, nothing can outsalt that, that election. So, let's move on to positive news. Skullgirls, that's right, the Skullgirls community does it again. Skullgirls second Encore, physical copy, pre-orders exceed 6,000. That's right, nearly at goal for Japanese voices. Now, it goes to show you, now mind you, this is the physical copy. Pre-orders are through the roof for Skullgirls, which goes to show you that there is a hardcore support for Skullgirls, and it deserves it. Now, for them to have over 6,000 copies, that's, for a game, mind you, that was a Kickstarter, a startup, that's amazing. That is. It goes to show you throughout this entire time, the original Skullgirls, second Encore, and now they're rolling over to the PS4, to PS Vita for physical copy, and it's still being supported. That tells you a lot about the community. Not to mention, we've seen a number of people say, the Skullgirls community, they're really nice people. And, and you hear all these things, how they try to help each other. So as far as I'm concerned, this is probably the ideal community I see right now in the FGC. It really is, because all you hear is positive stuff over and over and over. And it's not just Skullgirls, because we see it in other communities as well. The Under Night and Birth community, the Melty Blood community. You know what I mean? Like, you see these people when they get together, whether at conventions or not, and they're just so friendly to each other. And they're, and some people, of course, are local, so they know each other, so they're constantly talking. But others that are outsiders, they welcome them as well. This is what the FGC has always been about. It hasn't been about, oh, my salt, and want to fight and carry on. It's never been about that. Oh, I lost the game, let me throw something. That's fucking stupid. It just is. But speaking of that side of the community, let's talk about it, okay? Akuma is coming to Street Fighter V. That's right. And people are, oh my God, Akuma's coming, it's coming. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, did you not expect that? I mean, it's Akuma. It's Akuma. Like, let's be honest here. He's a staple, he's a pillar in Street Fighter. He's been a pillar for God knows how long. So it goes to show you that this is one of those things where when people got excited, it was like, just give me my money. I just didn't understand that. I was just like, this was kind of coming. I kind of saw this coming, but, But there's more. Capcom CEO has hopes that Street Fighter V has long-term popularity. Now, here's the thing, okay? When you want to sit here and say that Street Fighter V will have long-term popularity, I'm thinking to myself, well, you've been milking people with characters for time and time again to keep them playing, because I put it like this, if Capcom stopped the DLC right now, what would happen? People would really stop playing it. I mean, let's be honest here. We've seen the hit that it's taking in the last, month or two. We've seen how much it's gone down when it comes to people playing online, the statistics of people playing online, how much it's trying to sell. We just saw not too long ago, they tried to sell the whatever Ultimate Edition it was, and it was like 50% off or whatever, and people still weren't buying it. So it's a problem for Capcom. It really is. We'll give you all the DLC and all the bells and whistles, and people are still like, no, I won't buy it. Which is crazy. So it goes to show you that you do have a problem right now, Capcom. It does. So if you're talking about long-term, you should have went about this the right way, number one. And number two, you should do the community right. Not just give them DLC characters or stages and charge them up the ass for it, and then say, okay, now we're going to take the rest of the money, and we're going to throw it in the tournaments, and hopefully pull like a Marble 3, and just keep throwing money and money and money, and it will generate hype and generate love, and it'll stay around. I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I really don't think it is. But in more news about that, and I guess we should talk about that right now, Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Yeah, we've talked about this for a couple weeks now, haven't we? Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is rumored to be testing and will release next year. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. And of course it says rumored. But here's the thing, okay? If you're testing, it tells me you've already been working on it, number one. And we just saw this not too long ago. People were like, we want Marvel vs. Capcom 4. And everyone was like, well, we don't know what's in the works. Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, it's in testing and it'll be out next year. The rumor just doesn't make sense, given that you need time to make these games, okay? That's what it is. Now, also, if this is true, if you want to talk about long-term for Street Fighter V, and Marvel vs. Capcom 4 comes out next year, you are going to kill your own product. You're going to bury it. And we talked about this for how many years with Capcom? You're killing the lifetime, the shelf life of your games by constantly keep coming out with other games like this. You're not giving them time to breathe. That's the problem. Street Fighter V hasn't been out long. And already, if this rumor is true, that it's going to come out next year, people are going to abandon this shit. Not to mention, you're still going to have people who are upset over what happened with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Vanilla, and then went to Ultimate Edition. We're not going to talk about that. No, we're not going to talk about that. So you still have people who are upset about that. And then, of course, if you come out Marvel vs. Capcom 4, people are going to say, well, you're going to come out with another edition anyway. This is a problem with Capcom, if these rumors are true. So for anyone to sit here and say that, hey, you know, this is a long-term thing, then you better call Capcom on this. You really should. This is the CEO saying this now, all right, about the long-term, you know, playability or whatever. Capcom is doing the bare minimum, I feel, to keep games going afloat, especially when you see the community that you have. It's okay to be a fan of these games, but when you see what they've been pulling, and especially their history, you know, their past history, come on, you've got to be more aware of this. You have to be, and you have to be more, objective to this. You should know this, but that's what Capcom does. Now, let's move on to the fighting game of the week, which I am pretty excited to talk about. That's right. So, since we're talking about fighting games, I guess I should bring back an old one, but also a favorite. And for those who know what I'm talking about, let's talk about The Last Blade 2. This game deserves more credit than what it gets, and I also put it like this. Definitely, of course, I feel as though it needs a remake, and I say this due to the fact that, look, when SNK has already announced that they're going to make another Samurai Showdown, this opens the door for games like The Last Blade 2 to come back. Of course, fix some of the mechanics in the game and stuff like that. But it also opens up the genre for more fans to come in so that your community thrives overall. You can't keep relying on the same games over and over. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 4, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter, Arcade Edition, Street Fighter Ultimate, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5. I play this. The more games that you have, the larger your community becomes because it sparks different interest. You have people who will probably say, well, you know what? I like these type of games more than just straight up, martial arts or boxing or stuff like that. Sometimes people want to use a sword. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, it would draw more interest. It would expand your community more. But until we get these things, of course, there's always FightCade since these games are old. And speaking of FightCade, I need to talk about it for a minute, okay? Now, as you know, I was having some problems at first getting FightCade to run. But now, FightCade is running well. And I want to thank, all the guys and girls that helped me, that actually sat down with me and took the time to figure out what was going on. Because I couldn't figure out what was going on. When I was talking to some people, they couldn't figure out what was going on. But it doesn't matter. It's up and running now, all right? Now, I want to say this. Now that FightCade is up and running, I will be on it. These games I haven't played in like 10 plus years, man. I haven't. So it is what it is, you know what I mean? But I will say this. You know that I do the Extra Life program, right? You know that I stream on Thursdays for the Extra Life program, and the gameplay videos that I do, the standalone ones I do, are for the Extra Life program as well for donations, right? As of late, I'm getting kind of concerned that we're not going to make goal, especially since we're coming around the holiday season. All right, so and I put it like this: we're over $500 right now, and as you know, the goal is $1,000 every year. We're over $500, so it's not too bad, but getting a little concerned about it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a little proactive here. All right, I will play anybody in any game on FightCade as long as you donate to the Extra Life program. And what I mean by that is $5 will get you a first to 5. $10 will get you a first to 10. Like I said, it's for a good cause. I haven't played these games in like 10 years. I don't expect to win shit. I don't expect to win, you know what I mean? So, hey, if you beat me, you beat me. But if I beat you, you know what I mean? So, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, it's for a good cause. definitely want to, be a little bit more proactive and kickstart this a little bit more than what we're doing right now. And I know, we're still going to do the streams on Thursdays for it, and I'll still do the standalones. As you know, I just put out a Resident Evil video for the Extra Life program. So, like I said, I just want to make sure, listen, just getting a little concerned that we're not going to make going. I want to make sure, that happens. Like I said, it's for a good cause. It helps people for sick and, needy children, so, like I said, always for a good cause. So now the ball's in your court, all right? But I want to talk about more charity and people who do play video games for charity. Now, as you know, every once in a while these things come along, and I've always promoted Games Done Quick, all right? You guys and girls have sent me this and told me that this is becoming a problem. And I didn't know that Games Done Quick had this problem. I was always promoting it, saying, it goes great for cancer research and all. But now we're starting to find out more about Games Done Quick. So let's take a look at the problems that this is having, especially when it comes to proceeds going to cancer research.
Games Done Quick is easily the largest speedrunning marathon there is. They run 2 events a year. During their winter marathon, Awesome Games Done Quick, all proceeds are directed to the Prevent Cancer Foundation. With AGDQ 2017 coming in just a few months, it seems like the event is on a lot of people's minds right now. And so today I want to show you guys why I don't support Awesome Games Done Quick, and that if you care about cancer prevention, your money can be much better spent. So before I talk about the event itself, let's look at what is arguably the most important factor, and that's where the money you donate goes. Because the Prevent Cancer Foundation is a non-profit organization, they are legally required to make their financial information public. For the year starting on July 1st, 2014 and ending on June 30th, 2015, we can see the Prevent Cancer Foundation received over $6 million in revenue, so keep that number in mind while we look at their expenses. First, we see that they spent about $1.8 million on education, $1.1 million on research, and about $1 million on community outreach. This totals 62% of their revenue for the year. Also notice that this is only domestic organizations. The Prevent Cancer Foundation only operates within the United States, so if you live in any other country, none of what they do is going to help you or anyone around you, at least in a direct sense. So where's the rest of your money going? Well, over $550,000 went to the executives of the foundation. Awesome Games Done Quick 2015 brought in over $1.5 million total, which is about 1/4 of the Prevent Cancer Foundation's revenue for the year. This means at Awesome Games Done Quick 2015, we raised almost $130,000 for the executives at the Prevent Cancer Foundation. A lot of this money goes back into Games Done Quick in order to run the event and pay cushy salaries to people like Mike Uyama.
We are Games Done Quick, and 100% of all your donations go directly to the Prevent Cancer Foundation.
It's a funny trick when they say that all this money is going to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, because this is true, but then the Prevent Cancer Foundation turns right back around and pays thousands of dollars to volunteers at Games Done Quick. It should also be noted that Twitch pays Games Done Quick an undisclosed amount each year. Charity aside, let's talk about the event itself. What started as a small marathon put on by speedrunners meant to represent the community to the world has turned into a machine which only has the purpose of drawing in maximum number of eyes and dollars. There are some runners I can't defend.
I saw a post on VG that was, I donated $1,000 if worse to screen fucking niggers on the screen.
And there you go.
But Games Done Quick has become so power hungry, they are quick to harass or ban runners for minor or even false accusations. This was from their other event, Summer Games Done Quick. Big John ran Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels at SJW 2015. At the end of the run he says,
"Thanks all for showing up, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Glad to be here again. Thanks for giving me another chance to play this game again, and you're probably not going to see this at AGQ 2016, pretty sure."
Everyone make sure to follow Big John on Twitch. He's really...
And then he holds up some golf game that he's been very vocally trying to get into a GDQ. Reportedly, Games Done Quick felt he was circumventing the submission process. They rejected all of his runs for AGDQ the next year, and later he said he was harassed by security when he showed up. But I guarantee that whole submission process excuse is nonsense. They were upset because he slightly disrespected them on stream, and that is the #1 sin at GDQ. You guys might have seen my video about Bonesaw and how he was banned from submitting any runs for the year 2017. In this video I talked about how he was banned for saying fuck 3 times and making a bunch of Owen Wilson jokes even after he's repeatedly asked to stop. Some of you pointed out that he also told everyone to tweet at Air Canada for making his flight hard on him. As you can see, Games Done Quick immediately apologized for this when Air Canada hadn't even noticed an issue. There was literally nothing wrong with his run, but he was banned anyways. And then on top of all of this, the event has just become shit in terms of entertainment. Everything is so censored now. It used to be that you could get a feel for a runner's personality during their run, but it's slowly becoming a string of monotone explanations as they keep banning the people who provide the most popular runs. If something doesn't change within the next few years, I guarantee we see another marathon rise to Games Done Quick level, and I hope to see it surpassed.
Very interesting video. I could understand they want people who are, doing these quick runs, these speed runs, to watch what they say, because you do have kids watching. This is for a good cause. You want to make sure that, when those kids are watching, that they're an example. So I understand, you say, well, the players' personalities can't really shine. Yeah, you really can't, because they're probably being hampered. But more than likely, you have to also understand that these players' personalities aren't part of what they're supposed to be doing. People are watching just to see these players. They can be quiet the entire time if they want to see these players burn through these games so quickly. That's what this is. This is not about the actual players, all right? These players are phenomenal for doing what they do, but you also have to understand that no one is tuning in for your personality when it comes to, trying to burn through the game really quickly. Let's be honest here. When people are trying to get through a game quickly, when you're sitting at home, you're not talking the entire time usually. You're quiet. You're so focused and quiet that that's what you're going to be doing. So, like I said, I don't have a problem with that too much. I understand that they're being a little bit too tight-fisted on this and saying, hey, we're going to ban you simply for showing a game. That's absolutely ridiculous, because they felt they'd been disrespected. To tell Air Canada to give them the hard time, and then you have to apologize for that, that's absolutely ridiculous as well. The biggest problem I have with this is when you say you have 100% proceeds and they go to, cancer research, and they don't. And they don't. And then you start seeing the money and where it's going to. And I understand some of the money has to go back to them due to the fact that they have to, pay for these venues. They have to be able to, for the setups and stuff like that. That I understand. But when these guys, when you're seeing, like I said, you see these guys and they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. All right? It is. So as far as I'm concerned, I can understand why certain money goes to the community for the outreach and all this other stuff. That I can understand, because you have to spend money, you have to invest in order for something to be successful. That I don't have a problem with. But when you have these guys who are sitting back and collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I know some of you say, well, they need to make a living. Well, you know what? This isn't about making a living. It's not. We've seen this not too long ago with other charities, like Susan G. Komen. I mean, look how much trouble they got into when it came to, we found out where the money was going with that. So you have to understand that you can't go that route. You can't. All right? But the behavior that we've seen as of late, when you're contacting the airport and everything, and security is harassing people, from coming in, that's petty. That's childish. It really is. I think Games Done Quick is having a hard time right now. I think that this is something that it's kind of hard to promote. It really is, because when you have all these type of behaviors, and we've seen this time and time again, no matter what type of stream that you're watching or these type of venues, you're always going to have these guys who don't know how to act. They can be great players, once again, they can be great players, but they aren't mature enough to handle a larger audience or see that this is bigger than themselves, and they have to act a certain way. So it becomes a problem. I think if gamers are going to do this, I think the community really needs to come together and say, look, we need to have a serious talk. But every time I say that, and you say we need to have a serious talk, everyone runs from it. I don't get it. I understand you want to play your games, but when you have these type of things, like I said, especially when you're doing this for, some type of charity, and you know that you're that big, that you have millions of people, that are going to donate, and all these people are watching, yes, of course you're going to have kids watching, so you have to watch what you say. It's one of those things. You have to understand, if these people are going to make this an actual business, you have to go along the guidelines of other businesses. You have to. You have to. You can't just be like, oh, we're going to curse up a storm and act a fool, and you're going to just deal with it. No, that's not how it works, because people will walk away. You want to get as many people, you have to understand, the ideal of business is to grab as many of the masses as you can get. That's the ideal, okay? And if you don't understand just that part in general, then you don't know business. You don't. Now, I do want to move on, because that's a great video. I actually put the full the video. I'll put the link in the info bar for it. Great video. All right, it's a real eye opener. And if it wasn't for that video, I wouldn't have known that all the proceeds did not go to to cancer research. You know what I mean? The way they promote. Like I say, it's one thing to put back in for venues and stuff like that, but it's another to sit around and just pocket money. That's completely different. Completely. But let's move on, shall we? In more gaming news. All right, Capcom. That's right. Got one more thing for Capcom, which once again we're seeing with numbers and figures, and it's not looking very good. Capcom expects to sell 4 million copies at launch for Resident Evil 7. Now let's have a talk about this. All right, Capcom, what have you learned from going out there? It seems like companies in general, you haven't learned to stop putting out these projections. Because, as you know, it makes you look arrogant. It makes you look like, oh, we got them by the balls now. We can do whatever we want. We expect X amount of million. Remember with Dragon's Dogma? Remember with that? Remember with Devil May Cry? Remember that? Yeah. Every time you made a prediction on your projection on how much it was going to sell, it didn't even make half. Didn't even make half. And then later, in the later years, then it started to catch up. But initially, like I said, at launch, didn't. Now, of course, Resident Evil 7 looks, I would say it looks promising. Personally, I like the story of what's going on. We will see what happens. It almost feels like another origin story where we're not going, we're pretty much going to relive certain things. You know what I mean? That we know as the audience, but of course as the character you're playing, they don't know. So you're going over and over. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's one of those things. But I will say that the game does look appealing. The game does look promising for what we've seen so far. Capcom, I think, has done a really good job of not giving away too much. I will say that. We will see what happens with Resident Evil. But 4 million copies, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow. It is. Because I'm thinking to myself, if it's bad, gamers, the word will get out quick. I mean, look what happened with Resident Evil 6. And the word will get out quick. It just will. And you really have to shine on this one, Capcom. Like, if you're going to say something like that, and I'll put it like this, if you don't make that, that $4 million mark at launch, people are going to say, there you go again, being arrogant, you didn't learn from anything. If you do make the $4 million mark, and let's say the game is quality, people are going to give you a pass. But people are going to still say, you shouldn't have put out that projection number, because it still makes you look arrogant. Like, you're not going to get around that. And the thing is, Capcom, it's not just Capcom that does this, people. Understand this. EA has done it. We saw what happened with EA, and they're suffering right now. Remember they had all those those projections? Oh, we're going to have all this money because of Mirror's Edge and Mass Effect and Andromeda. We'll talk about those things later, all right? But you have to understand that, remember, they was like, oh, this is going to be a good year for us. We're going to be rolling in dough. And then Mirror's Edge bombed. It bombed. Listen, we'll talk about that later in the video, okay? Like I said, you have to be very careful when you make these type of projections and put them out to the public. It actually hurts your, it hurts your company. Not to mention when your shareholders see it, it's like, oh, here we go again. You don't want to go that route. So yeah, it's one of those things where you're going too far with it. Speaking of going too far, it's time to talk about the media. That's right, media time. For those who don't know, the Washington Post. Yeah, let's talk about this. The Washington Post says that Mafia 3 took a risk, that's right, in using a black protagonist, and it paid off. It took a risk. Yes, they're trying to say that because, minorities or, diversity in gaming is so low that they took a risk when it came to this, and it actually paid off, which is a bunch of bullshit. You and I both know, if you haven't been playing games for, I'll say, at least 5 years, you know that you've seen diversity in video games. You've seen black protagonists. Seriously, we can go back to GTA, alright, San Andreas, which made a ton of fucking money compared to Mafia 3, and you still want to sit here and say, and that's just one example, and you still want to sit here and say that it's a risk. It's absolutely horrible for you to say. Once again, you are trying to use the race card in order to get clicks and views. We see it. But here is the problem that I'm having with this entire article. Because a lot of people jumped on this person. Like, person got bodied in their comments by gamers who were like, this is bullshit, and ran it down to them. But when they talk about Watchdogs, and the problem with Watchdogs, all right, and that there was a controversy, I need to see more of this. I really do. Because this statement right here, I was gone. I was gone. Seriously, when I saw that, I was just like, I had the Joel Embiid face when he got drafted to the Sixers. I was just like I was gone. You're going to sit here and tell me that there was at least one complaint, which I would like to see where that complaint came from, that it's unrealistic because black people don't know how to use technology. Okay, so I guess we should break this down, huh? In a game, video game, which means it's fantasy. It's fantasy. It's unrealistic, right? In a game where you hack the fucking planet, pretty much, let's be honest here, in your entire world in that game, you can pretty much hack it. That's what it is. Hack everything. You're going to tell me it's unrealistic because a black person is using technology well. Right. We've talked about this before, have we not? We talked about how there's still a race problem in our community. I wouldn't say it's too much. But we've seen that there's definitely a class problem in our community, which is still at an all-time high. But I said, if anything, that there's a race problem, it's within the industry, as not so much the community as it is the industry. So in the industry, whether it's media or actually in the game industry, you see how diversity is not really there. We've seen how many times these SJWs have tried to speak for minorities, you know what I mean, in this case, and it never works out right. You know what I mean? And you keep using identity politics, again, to try and make a name for yourself, instead of taking responsibility as gamers, because if you're speaking about games, you would know this type of stuff. Like I said, if you look at the comment section, I'll put the link in the info bar. If you look at the comment section, gamers railroad this writer because absolutely wrong when it comes to diversity. A lot of people saying it doesn't matter, and they give them a number of examples. So we're seeing this again, where it's becoming a problem. All right? At least one complaint. Okay, so at least one. Now, mind you, that's one person. Of course, you can't say one person equals everyone. You can't say that. It's one person. Like I said, I would like to see that complaint. One person. However, it is a telling sign of what's going on here. And I haven't seen anybody really, and I know a lot of people say, well, if you look at comments in other videos, people do complain about this. I haven't seen anybody who's had the heart enough to step on a camera in their face or onto or whatever and say, you know what? I don't see the problem with this. I don't really care. I mean, let's be honest here. After Watchdogs 1 and the way it went, I don't give a shit who the protagonist is in Watchdogs 2 because I'm not going to get Watchdogs 2 after the way Ubisoft fucked up Watchdogs 1. So yeah, that's how I see things. Doesn't matter if the person is white, black, yellow, green, blue, an alien, doesn't matter. Like I said, we are gamers. We have done this for so long. We have played RPGs. We're your fucking aliens. We have seen... Come on. So diversity, when they want to talk about diversity being a gamble, it's a bunch of bullshit. That's how I feel. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's not a gamble. Alright? Like I said, you can play as a monster and run around and destroy things all fucking day. But that's apparently that's not diversity. Okay. We have people who've made up complete worlds of aliens and stuff. That's not diversity. Not at all. Completely different species. That's not diversity. Okay. We see it in every damn game. Any type of monster that you go against, it's a different species. You know, like, come on. But speaking of Watchdogs, there's some news we need to talk about with Watchdogs. All right, we're gonna come back to identity politics. All right, because with the media. All right, Watchdogs 2 DLC Season Pass has been detailed. It will cost you $40. That's right, $40 for the Season Pass, and DLC will spread until spring of 2017. So on top of the $60 that you're going to pay for the game, if it works, now $40 for the Season Pass, the DLC... Oh, come on. Do people still fall for this shit? Do they? And if so, why? Every damn game these days has a Season Pass. Damn near. Are you telling me that you're paying $100 to $100 and whatever, depending if you get the collector's edition, that's a whole different story, alright? Which will probably run you $150, $200, depending on what game it is. You're going to pay this much for one game. That 9 times out of 10, after your DLC, you're going to go and trade it in every 3 to 4 months. Remember, that was the problem. Quick turn, returns and turn-ins and getting it for something else. And GameStop making a killing off of it. And yeah. Don't even get me started. But speaking of more identity politics, all right, Overwatch has a new character named Sombra. Not a problem. Who's a Latina apparently and can hack the play of the game. That's right. And apparently, when this was announced, the SJWs couldn't wait to talk about this, but then they fucked themselves over in the end. So let me get this straight. Anthony Birch is excited to play as a woman, which, mind you, you could already play as a woman in the game, okay? In the game. A badass Latina woman, but you have other diversities that are women in the game. That doesn't matter? Doesn't matter? Okay. With a punk-ass haircut, apparently. And you're so proud of Blizzard, which I don't understand. It almost makes you feel as though you haven't been paying attention to the actual game. But then, someone else comes and says, I don't think that, diversity is an issue. And I want you to see exactly what Anthony Birch says after that. You don't get the fuck out of here with that old bullshit. Seriously, if a person comes around and says, look, I don't think, race is a problem because if you've played the game, or if you've even seen this game, there are a number of races in this game. So it's not a problem for Overwatch, right? Right. But then you go for this reach, and I mean reach, Mr. Fan, just reach for the stars. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Tell that to Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin. Get the fuck out of here. Are you really going to bring that up? Are you really? That's your answer. Alright? Well, playing Overwatch, that's your fucking fucking answer. You've got to be kidding. Yeah, because Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown are so worried about fucking Overwatch and the diversity. Get the fuck, if they were alive, get the fuck out of here. For you to even go there tells me that you really had nothing else to say because you knew you were caught. You knew that if anyone tried to challenge you on this when they played the game or they seen the game, that a number of races already exist in the fucking game. You already know this. But tell that to Trayvon Martin and oh my God, Michael Brown. Are you just get, like I said, once again, these are people who try to speak for others. And then when you fuck yourselves, alright, you're going to have people like myself who tell you to shut the fuck up. Because you make yourself look stupid every fucking time. Every time. But there's more on this. That's right. Apparently, it's not just about race. Nope. Now it's got to be about sexual orientation. So, let's look at this. Really? This is what we're on now. So you're going to tell me that you're going to claim, because of her color scheme of the character design, that she's bisexual. And that it's not a coincidence. Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to figure this out. Because if that's the case, then the Sentinels from X-Men must be bisexual, right? Apocalypse is close to that color scheme. It must be bisexual. At first, I had to ask people, was this trolling? Because I couldn't believe that people would be this fucking stupid to reach this far to think that, you know, this is a real thing. And for what I heard from you guys and girls, this is real. This is real. So it goes to show you that this reach for something that's not there so that they can be relevant is just pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. It's a color scheme. Who gives a shit? But for some reason, we gotta identify that with the bisexual flag. It's politics bullshit. But you know what? It gets worse. Then we have these people complaining about body types in Overwatch. That's right. So what we're going to do is here, all right, because I thought this was trolling as well, all right? So a gamer had put together, when this person was complaining, actually put a chart together of the body types below the comment so that you can see how much bullshit they're full of. Not once. Not once. You can't, no, not going there. You cannot tell me that the body types in this game, like I said, do these people play this game? Do they even see the character designs? Like, you cannot sit here and tell me that there's not enough diversity in body types in this game. You cannot sit here and tell me that for women. You can't tell me. You're complaining just to be complaining at this point. And I put it like this. If you're going to complain, all right, then at least do your research. But no one's doing the research. And of course, there's going to be people out there who haven't seen Overwatch, you know, the character designs, who haven't played Overwatch. So when you see these type of comments, you're going to have people who just fall in line and say, yeah, they need more body types, they need more designs, yeah, they got to do better. When you see the truth for what it is, and you see these people who are desperate, and that's what it is, it's desperate to keep this going, it shows you how desperate, how pathetic these people can be. If you do not like these games, if you don't like the gaming industry, if you don't like the gaming community, then don't bother it. Leave it. Walk away from it. But it's so easy to take a shot at the gaming industry and the community, because mind you, the industry doesn't back us anymore. Remember, we used to be side by side, you know? The industry will let gamers get railroaded by absolute strangers and say all these bad things, whether it's a media outlet or not, and the gaming industry won't say shit. But they still want you to pay for their fucking games. They still want you to, you know, to back them, but they don't back you. This is one of these things where I feel as though it gets to a point where it becomes so ridiculous that, can you get mad? Can you get mad? It makes them look stupid, but it still gives them the attention that they want. And I say that due to the fact that there's always going to be somebody like a Polygon, like Kotaku, who takes that and says, you know what? We know we're in the shitter right now, but if I write this article on this, I could probably do something with this. And I believe just not too long ago, one of those outlets wrote something about, about Tracer, and SJW jumped all over them about it to help find Tracer. It was absolutely ridiculous, you know, that they would jump all over them for it. It's pathetic that we see this time and time again. You can't even have fun. You can't talk about things, you know, in a joking manner about somebody like that. There's not enough body types. Oh, fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Seriously. This is what I come back for. Yeah, I come back for. Let's move on, shall we, to more gaming news. Can we do that? Can we do that? Left 4 Dead. Yeah, that's some diversity in it too, didn't it? Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead. That's right. Developers developers release a new level to the public. Still an unfinished game, though. But new levels to the public, so by all means, if you're interested in it, go ahead. Also, in arcade news, that's right, arcade news. So you'd probably be able to find this game in like Dave & Buster's because that's where it's big, you know. Sega has announced that Daytona USA 3 Championship is coming to arcades. That's right, so everyone get your friends together. For those who've never played Daytona USA, I'm sure a lot of you have in the arcades. As you know, especially at Dave & Buster's, you get, what, like 8 units? Depending on how big the game is, how popular it is, you get anywhere from 8 to 16 units side by side, and you can all play. So yeah, very fun times for Daytona USA. It's a good move by Sega, but you also have to understand when you're announcing these type of things, there needs to be more arcades. There just needs to be. But let's move on with more Sega news. Sega's financial performance improves thanks to better game sales. Now here's the thing, okay? Sega, what did you learn? What did you learn? I'm just wondering. Because you should know, and I'm just saying this, all right? And any company can look at that from Sega's financial report, and they should know. Listen to the fans. That's all you gotta do. Listen to the fans. Because that's where you're going to make your money. You don't need to just say, okay, we're going to come out with this, and we're just going to throw it out there, and you're just going to digest it. You're going to buy it, you're going to like it, you're going to digest it. No. If you listen to the fans and what they want, they will buy your product. Congratulations, Sega. You have now figured it out. Since you have listened finally, you have figured out what it takes to make some money in the gaming industry. Yeah, listen to your fans. Like I said, people, you have to understand that your dollar is power. Consumer power. You have the power. It's another example. But speaking of things that probably won't go well when it comes to money, and we just talked about this, we're just going to do this and you're going to like it, etc., right? Companies like EA and their bullshit, and we're going to talk about this, right? Mass Effect Andromeda, $200 collector's edition, doesn't come with the game. Doesn't come with the fucking game. Now, of course, everyone was, in a big, outcry about this, backlash, jumping all over EA. Just remember, people, that not too long ago I reported they did this with what? Battlefield. That they were going to come out with this collector's edition and they weren't going to give you the game with it, right? That's what they did. And some people tried to support that and say, well, how about if I just want all the other stuff but not the game? Or how about I want all this other stuff and I want to buy the digital version of it? Yeah, digital version, yeah. Right. This is what the justification for this type of stuff was. It's absolutely ridiculous. You would pay $200 for a collector's edition and not get the game with it. It's ridiculous. But leave it to EA and their bullshit, and people will follow. But there's more. There is more. So let's talk about this, shall we? EA and more of their bullshit, for those who don't know. All right? Titanfall 2. Gotta talk about this. Yeah, Titanfall. I know Titanfall. Titanfall 2 Twitter account takes shots at Call of Duty. That's right. And the developers were running damage control after that. But here's the thing, all right, for those who don't know. So you're taking shots, right? But here's more news, all right? Poor Titanfall 2 sales are blamed on EA. So let me get this straight. I want to get this straight, all right? EA's Titanfall 2 account decides to go after Activision and Call of Duty, right? But their sales are piss poor. So while you're taking shots at another company, you're not doing what you need to do to sell your own game. That's absolutely ridiculous. And as we know, just not too long ago, Titanfall 2 had to get a bunch of patches and stuff. So let me get this straight. The developers are so upset that EA's official Titanfall 2 Twitter went after Activision that they had to come out themselves and say, no. The only time you should listen to an official, Titanfall 2 Twitter is by us. So they had to pull rank on this one. It's absolutely ridiculous that you were willing to take shots at other companies in the most immature way instead of ensuring that your product is not only quality, but is selling. That's the number one thing you need to do. And you're not doing that. So it goes to show you that when you see companies act this way, we see developers who act this way. And like I said, once again, it begs the question, are you shocked to see that the gaming community also acts this way? You shouldn't be. Because of the fact that, hey, that type of behavior is going to keep happening. Because there's not a prime example of responsibility. But there's more. That's right. Mirror's Edge, so I talk about this. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, that's right, to become Xbox EA Access freebie soon. Yeah, I can see why, because no one wants this shit. No one wants it. So what do you expect? And we saw this coming a mile away. As soon as EA would not confirm that Anita Sarkeesian was a consultant on the game, because they wouldn't. They'd say, well, she's not in development staff, it doesn't matter. Is she a consultant? Well, we're not going to say nothing. Of course. The game bombed. Like I said, you were so egotistical, so arrogant to say, oh, this game is going to do great, and we can't wait to sit back and count our money. And this is what you do. You know, our lineup. Battlefield 1, what's going on with Battlefield 1? A lot of people are kind of upset with Battlefield 1 right now, but your Collector's Edition rub people the wrong way. You've got your Mass Effect Andromeda, where people already said that, because of what's going on, with the developers there, that they weren't even going to buy the game. But the fact is, Mass Effect Andromeda, Collector's Edition, and you're not giving the full game, turns people off, right? Okay. Now Mirror's Edge Catalyst. You're having this with this problem. It seems like EA keeps doing this over and over, and for some reason, people keep going back to them. I don't understand this. Maybe one of you can help me understand this. Other than, because anything anyone ever says is that, oh, well, it's cheap. Oh, well, it's just like the game and I don't care about the politics and all that type of stuff. Do you just have expendable money? Like, seriously, paying $200 for a product and not getting the full product? And you're okay with that? Think about that for a minute. $200 for a product and not getting the full product. Not to mention that eventually EA will hit you with DLC, will hit you with a season pass, will hit you with everything that they can to keep this game in the long run. Right? Because they don't want you to trade in right away. So once again, this is the problem we have. But we have also other problems too. That's right, for those that don't know. Never stink again. That's right, for those that don't know. A new Kickstarter aims to market deodorant for gamers called Plus 5. And its initial scent is charisma. So why don't we take a look at this real quick. Now look, we know when you go to conventions, we've talked about this before, you keep deodorant on you because some of y'all kind of funky when you go out there and you try and play your games and you don't smell yourself. I don't know how you can't smell yourself. I don't know how you don't smell that. If you smell body odor from a mile away, you know you got problems. Don't tell me it's natural. Don't tell me you don't smell it. You smell it, all right? You smell it. Put some deodorant on. But, all right, because nobody want to be no funky people. But I put it like this. When you make a deodorant and you say that the scent is charisma, let's get something straight, all right? When you smell, whether it's a deodorant or a cologne or whatever, all right, whether you want to axe yourself up or whatever, that doesn't give you automatic charisma, all right? It doesn't, all right? It just means that you probably smell good. That's it. It could probably draw some people to you. But when you open your mouth is when you have that charisma. When you have that body language is when you have that charisma. Women can sense this. Other men more likely can sense this. Because if you're standing like there's something wrong with you, like you got a stick up your ass, no matter how good you smell, now you know I'm going to be around you. Just let you know that. Okay? Now, I want to say this. The fact that they're trying to sell this towards a specific demographic, as we know, to gamers. But the video actually mocks gamers because it's called Smelly on Go. So you want to sell a product to a gamer while on top of it insulting them. Okay. Because that makes sense. Yeah. I feel as though this is one of those things where this Kickstarter, and this is what once again bothers me. You have to understand that when you see stupidity like this in these Kickstarters and they get money, to me, it's embarrassing. We see guys get paid all types of, donate to my Patreon, blah, blah, blah. We see this time and time again. I'm thinking to myself, that money could go to so much better. You know what I mean? You could donate to a charity. You could donate to people who are actually in need. You know what I mean? There's probably somebody who can't pay their hospital bills or something, could go in need. Instead, you want to pay for a guy who sits on his ass and just wants to play video games all day. Or, a Kickstarter for a deodorant aimed towards gamers, because God knows you don't have enough stuff that's aimed towards them. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, they're trying to hit you with energy drinks. They're trying to hit you with Doritos and junk food and shit like that and keep you playing because you're, the guy that you like so much, he's wearing certain headphones when he's playing his game. That makes him a good guy, makes him a pro, so that means you gotta have it. That controller he's using, you need to have that controller too, because that's going to make you a pro too and give you a better winning edge. All these things are being thrown at you to tell you how much of a nerd or out of shape or a dork you are, and then they're going to hit you with, well, we have something for that. We can give you this deodorant since you're a smelly, fat son of a bitch. That's what they're doing to you, if you haven't realized that. And I hate to be so, how can I put this, truthful in this part. Because let's be honest, that's the truth of things. I don't understand how gamers can sit back when you're seeing these things being thrown at you and all you can keep saying is, I just want to play my games. Those days is over, man. You can play your games when you play with your friends or whatever. Yeah, you can do that. That's not a problem. But when you see these type of things, like I said, there's a number of issues in this community every week that we can address. But it seems like a lot of people like to run away from this shit. But let me talk about how I hate such and such game, or such and such YouTuber, or such and such streamer, or whatever. And then the fanboys come and run it, don't they? They do. They'll spend more time doing that shit than they will actually tackling real issues that could actually help our community. Like I said before, nothing but a bunch of fucking cowards. It's shocking. I shouldn't say shocking. We shouldn't be shocked. It's appalling, but not shocking that they would attempt something like this. But it is up to us in the community to recognize it, see it, and be like, oh no, that's fucking bullshit. No way. That's absolutely ridiculous. These are just companies who are just trying to take you for what you got. That's all it is. Especially when you're trying to make a deodorant and, you, like I said, Smilliango, so like I said, insult gamers and then try and sell them something. That's just not the way to go about it. Not the way. Like I said, this is, like I said, people can say it's a joke. You can say it's a sense of humor. No, we are talking about dollars and cents. That's what we're talking about. And I'm not talking about the, the little coin type of cents either. So it goes to show you that this is what we've been dealt with this week. Whether it's the media, whether it's people trying to get you for your money, whether it, like seriously, $200 collector's edition with not the whole product, like, and you want to defend this, like, you can't defend this shit. It's indefensible. And some people want to tell me, well, this is the way of the times, we should just get used to it. No, it's never been this way. The only reason it's this way is because either people bought in or they stopped caring. That's what it is. There's no, oh, well, they're doing this and we're all behind it. Because I guarantee you, you can't sit here and say the majority is behind this. No, they're not. It's absolutely ridiculous. But what can we do? Simply say no. Say no. Is it hard for people to say no these days? Say no. No. Not that hard. You say no when you don't like something, right? Say no. And stay away from it. They'll get the message. But that's too hard to do, it seems, these days. I don't know why. It's only when it comes to gaming. Anything else, you don't have a problem with. But when it comes to gaming, for some reason, y'all, I don't know. Anyways, I am done for the week. Hopefully things will get better next week. Alright? We'll see what happens. And like I said, challenges out there for anybody at FightCade who wants to play. Like I said, all for charity. I don't care. Like I said, I played this game in 10 years. I don't care. So, as far as I'm concerned, please let me know what's going on. I will talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe. Thank you for watching. I'm out.